Okay. So, I think there's a lot, we could take a lot of time. There's a lot that, many miracles that this man can share with us about his life, and especially much about his recent life. But let's start out, just tell us a little bit about your story, how you met Jesus, how you came into the ministry, what your ministry life was like in those years that I knew you, and where God has taken you from there.
Right, thank you. Well, basically, I'm joking about it. It seems like I was born in theater. Like I've been part of a theater team for a long time. I think since I was 10. So always was all creative stuff happening here and there. That's why I'm kind of a slowly got in music, in the paintings. So somehow along the way, in 1998, God knocked my door, and I was, able to hear that knock. And I opened the door, and that was Jesus. And I never thought I need Jesus, right? Because I thought, well, I have my belief, whatever. And but since then, it was unbelievable journey, right? By that time, I was working as a professional actor at one of the local theaters. And I really could not participate in services, right? For 1 year, I was quite suffering, being able only visit overnight prayer meetings, right? Overnight, because there's only what time was available. Started to learn how to hear voice of God. I was sending questions to God, like, really, what is it? And God started little by little naming these paintings. That was amazing. So, and then after a couple years, God said, well, for now you're going to have a break time for art. You're going to do only praise and worship. You'll have so much things to do. And only in 2018, I was able to go back to prophetic art. And since then, it was amazing what God was giving to me. Basically, when I'm doing starting painting, I'm not having any idea of what I'm doing, basically. Just feeling drawn to certain colors, and that's all. And then God is simply leading me what to do, how to do. And even there is one painting called The Salvation for the Cross. And I didn't have much understanding. I thought I'm going to put a kind of a bluish cross in the middle. Didn't plan to put any kind of a heli, style fire on the background. But end up to be this way, so it's bright on the top and in the bottom it's darker. But it was only me doing kind of a feeling with the paint. When I was done, I uploaded it to a Facebook page, and it's changing a contrast ratio. And I was shocked because on the bottom of a cross, I clearly could see risen Jesus from the dead sitting on a stone who's about to stand out, stand up. And it almost kind of a hair above his head. I was like, what? On his left are two white figures, what could be angels, right? So after getting that type of a painting, you kind of thinking, really, God is really involved in this. You're really doing it in partnership with the Holy Ghost. And I think being worship leader was the biggest part of that. Every Sunday morning, just looking for God's presence. And by the way, you worship team, you did an amazing job. I really enjoyed, really. Let God bless you. And, every Sunday I was looking for God, and we were able to bring all congregation to that really deep presence of God. And I have to agree with you. And that time in beginning of 2000s, majority of population in Ukraine, they were pretty much poor people. So they had to trust God with everything. I mean, everything. So their prayers were really generous, They really needed God here and there and over there. And that's why we were able kind of corporately enter in strong calling. And Church of Praise Network started to grow like never before. Yeah, we end up opening many churches across Ukraine, and even I think in Armenia at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very dramatic, and and I remember in those early years, people would come to Pastor Gregory in just desperate situations,
Yeah.
and the church had nothing to give them. I mean, they could be losing everything, but the church had no money. But in every situation, Pastor Gregory would take their hands and he would pray, and in the years that we would come back, we would see the people of God in that church begin to prosper, start businesses, and begin to flourish in their lives because of Jesus. It was miraculous. There was no money there. You know, when John and Jackie first started going there, I mean, the only way to get gas was to stop on the side of the road where someone was holding up a gas can. You know, you couldn't get light bulbs. People took their windshield wipers off their cars at night or they would get stolen. You know, there was nothing. But there was Jesus.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jesus.
As we've said many times, Jesus is the big game changer, right?
Yeah,
and he definitely was there. And so we got to be part of those earlier as I did. And John, of course, has continued to go
this
back.
whole thing, Bible college thing, was amazing.
Yes.
Because I went for 3 years of everyday learning, study there. It was amazing. And somehow along the way, like halfway through, I've realized like I can understand English really. I mean, I never been really kind of taught in the proper way. Like I went to school, but really I didn't know why I need that English then, right? So Pastor Gregory ended up putting me on the stage as a translator for sermon translation, from the stage. That was quite experience, right? Yeah, but God was faithful. I'm so thankful. There was a Canadian guy, and he was using really basic English, right? And I was like, wow, I can translate, okay? And then another Canadian came, and I was like, I really cannot translate. I mean, I was like, he was using such a complicated words. I never heard of them, and, step by step, I was improving in that. Yeah.
So tell us how you met your wife.
Well, that's a long story. Okay.
Well, give us a short version.
Well, again, it's all about hearing God. And I have to be honest, there was some people at the church, and their concern was me being single, okay? Me being 32 and still being single. What's wrong with you, brother? But listen, in Ukraine, usually people got married pretty early. Like to be married like at age of 18, that's not a big problem. Quite early for us, but 25 would be kind of a guideline. So me being not married when I'm 32 was quite, people were asking me weird questions. There was some people really trying to manipulate me, really push me in the marriage, no matter what. They said, you need to, there's something in your body, but you will need a marriage life, but you're not really using it now. So when you're going to be married, that's the thing not going to work. I was like, what? And it's like, is it all about that thing only? I thought it's more than that. You know what I mean? And I was right, actually. Those people, as soon as I got married, disappeared from our lives. So what if I would pick the wrong person? They would say, that was you, who was thinking about it. And I couldn't say, hey, but you were telling me I will need something, right? Yeah, so basically, I was praying about it, and I was told I have to look with my eyes. That was a mistake, actually, to look with my eyes. Because God has prepared a person for me, right? And once I was driving that marshrutka, small kind of a bus, social transportation, and one man got up from his seat, but bus was kind of a turning, and I was standing, wanted to see it, but because of our gravity, right, I kind of end up to be there without doing nothing. I was like, wow. And I heard how God spoke to me, like, just the way it just happened. Your wife will come into your life. You don't have to do anything about it. You're going to sit and you'll see her I will bring her into your life. And that was true, because there was one moment I saw her God opened my eyes, actually. I was like, whoa, wow. She was in my choir for 2 years. And I really didn't notice her. Didn't notice her then. I mean, we had quite a big choir, but, she was a pretty girl then, and she's still beautiful. Hey, am I getting any positive points, Sorry. But anyway, it was like God was telling me, she's coming. And she was actually praying about her marriage, and God was revealing her image of me, but she was not sure it was me. I was wearing a ring. Americans were bringing rings of covenant with a God for youth, kind of a silver ring, right? So I got my really big ring. So I was wearing it. Some people were thinking I'm married. It was like, what? So that was a miracle. We met. We started to kind of send messages to one another. And then she came back to her hometown because she studied at medical university. And she had to be in Corcoran for 2 years. And then she came back home. It was like, oh, I met my future wife, and now she left, like, to a different town. And we started to send messages back and forth. We didn't have any dating, no dates. No dating, just letters in old-fashionable way, just letters, And it was good because sometimes people can be attracted to other person because the way they look, right? And next morning after waiting without all makeup, and a man can be, whoa, who you? Like, that can happen, right? Wow. But it's too late, it was kind of an image, right? And we all changed it. I was so skinny, when I was 20, right? This is not true now. We're all changing, right? So it's not about image of how the person looks. That's good to have, nice-looking people. But it's all about soul, right? It's all about ability to love God, ability to forgive, right? It's all about that type of things. So anyway, it was really fast thing with our marriage. So we were sending letters and then invite her to come for my birthday. And I felt like it's really the right type of person. And in 3 weeks, I made a proposal in Kiev. She said yes. I was happy. Yeah. In I think in a month and a half, we did a wedding. So she never came for dating, and I'm still kind of okay with that, right? Because, when I was in marriage ceremony, I was like questioning myself, I really don't know this person, really didn't spend much time with her. God was telling me, like, you'll be all right, you're going to like it, trust me, you're going to like it. I never had any regrets. Listen, because I trust God, and He was faithful to bring me. I think she's the perfect second part of that one man, what God created, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Cheryl telling me when the day we started our honeymoon, we were in my car. We were heading out of Minneapolis to Colorado, and she looked at me and she said, "Who is this man that I am leaving town with?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And we dated 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, but isn't that, God is so faithful.
Yeah.
And now,
that was my journey. Listen,
Yeah.
Because not many can do this, right? Because of Bible college, all these years of dedication, God got me really a beautiful person. Yeah.
So I know that, of course, for all of us, the war in Ukraine is heavy on our minds. There's a lot of prayer and intercession, of course, happening here and there. Yeah. And I've been in touch a lot with you and also with Olga, who was another translator, Olga and Costa. and she was actually selling her art and using the funds to support men who were helping evacuate civilians from Mariupol. So, we've all been intimately involved in this war, carrying it in our hearts and praying. And maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how it impacted your life and what you see for Ukraine.
It was all difficult stuff, right? We never expected Russia to attack in such a severe way. And we were in Kiev. We ended up moving from Kryvyi Rog to Kiev 2.5 years before war started. And we kind of felt we're going to be there about 2 years and then we're going to leave. We didn't know where we're going to go, right? So when the war started, it was so surreal because my mother-in-law called me and she said, well, it started as I was telling you before. She has kind of a prophetic understanding of that nature of Russia. And when I look outside, I could hear that these sirens, many of them here and there sound. Can you imagine this kind of a surreal situation? Like here and there sounding, some explosions on the background. The highway was packed with the cars not moving. It was traffic jam because of probably some car crash accident somewhere like there. It was a disaster, and I thought, well, kind of but in the same time, I felt like God was telling me, like, I will help you, like, I will let you out of this. And we spent the rest of the day just enjoying our family, went to a store, I went to a store, it was fine, like every shelf was kind of full. In a week, it wasn't that anymore. We were not there, but people were telling us, like, well, empty shelves there, because Russians basically, they bombed warehouses of food. And as a matter of fact, they built it in such a way that all these huge warehouses were not just for Kiev, for more than half of Ukraine. So that was a huge problem. So anyway, here we are, being in Kiev, kind of posting on Facebook, hey, we're in safety here. And Kostya called me and he said, listen, it doesn't look, it looks like it's safety, but it's really not, because you don't know what 20 kilometers from you, there's some Russian troops landing via helicopters trying to get in the city. And I was like, wow, that looks different. Right. So we started to pack fast as possible. My wife, she was pregnant. It was 8 months. Right, she is the one in our family who is a specialist on packing, right? I'm just a driver, So it took quite a long time to pack with a belly, 4 hours. And I took few of my best paintings with mine, like, maybe God, if you can protect the rest of it. It's kind of a 45 pieces of different types, different shapes. Like the biggest was 40 by 60 inches. So I didn't have space for that in my car. So we packed. Actually, as a matter of fact, I made a phone call to one of my friends, and he lived near Kiev, just down to center, which is safe here. As a matter of fact, he said, listen, some other family called me just recently, and they asked for housing. But I said, listen, I cannot receive you. I'm expecting some guests. Because he said, God told me you're coming. Isn't it something? Oh my goodness. I was like, what? Yeah, he said, God told me you're going to come. Right, I was amazed with that fact. So God provided, even without us understanding, it's there. So we went there, we spent there like 1 week, and there we decided to try to leave country. Why try? Because there was a law, they came up with a law, I think in the 3rd day of the war, like no man allowed to leave country, except if they're older than 60, or they're handicapped, or sick, or they have 3 children younger than 18. So I had 2.5 children, kind of almost there, but not exactly. So I heard some people made it through the custom to Moldova. I spoke with them over phone, and we went there, and we were denied. They said, you have to try a different one. Try it there, maybe they'll let you out. When we went there, we were denied one more time. I felt tremendous relief. I don't know why. It sounds so strange, right? you kind of trying to get in a safety, and then if you're not there, but you feel such a relief, like you were trying to do something against God's will, right? So I made a phone call to a friend of mine, and she told me ahead, like, if you need some help on western part of Ukraine, just call me. I will connect you with some churches there. So I've checked my kind of range what I can get before curfew. And I could see there was only one city. And I named her that city. She made some phone calls. People called me back. We connected. We went there. We came there 10 minutes before curfew. But you have to understand, in that times, there were so many checking points on the roads. It was not regular military. It was civilians with the guns, right? So some of them really were nervous. And after we passed one checking point, we were quite scared because we could see people, many people kind of hiding with the rifles ready to shoot. But on their faces, I could tell they were really not skilled to hold their emotions, But we were so happy to be quickly get into that city. So next day, administrator of a church came and he said, God told me it will be a family from my house. So I want to take you to my house because I think you are the family. What a provision. And you have to understand, this guy, he has house outside of town, outside of a city. So we could not hear any sirens. That was a blessing because it's so stressful actually to hear it even, right? And the house had everything what we needed inside. That was freshly renovated. As a matter of fact, it had all piece of equipment like you have in these houses, even dryer for clothes, which is absolutely rare in Ukraine, like dishwasher, washing clothes machine, right? Dryer for clothes. Well, I mean, it's amazing. And it had beautiful scenery outside, beautiful hill, and there is some forest on the top. We end up to spend there probably 4 months, almost 4 months. And then not 4 months, less than that, 3.5, sorry. And baby David was born. And our concern was like, it will be any sirens in that day, because you're required to, in this kind of facilities, you're required to go down to the basement to bomb shelter. But it's really not something you want to do, right? During your labor, right? So, by the mercy of God, in that day, no sirens. There was no sirens. Baby David was born, and everything was just fine, except there was it's not needle. This cord, what connects him with the mother, there was
the umbilical cord.
Yeah, there was kind of a knot. Is that a knot?
Okay.
Yeah, there was a knot, and doctor told me, listen, you're lucky, because there was a knot. It was not tight. If he would move there, it would be tight. He would lose oxygen, right? Blood flow. He could die inside. Maybe because of stress, he was quite really active. Or I don't know, but that is really a miracle baby, because a couple times we almost lost the baby, right? It's our third son, and really, God just protected him. So when the baby was born, we were free to go, right, according to law. And we started to pray where to go, because we felt like we have to go to English-speaking countries, since we both could speak English, right? We were not ready to learn French, German, and Polish, and so much stuff. And we got an invitation from Germany, from France, and even from England. And we kind of didn't feel right about England. And one of my friends, they end up to be in Canada. They made their way to Canada, and they really like it. And there are some people who I know who made it to States, and we really hate it. Okay, because in that time, they applied for the work permit, and they applied in May, and still they didn't get it. It's like it will be up to 9 months. So I thought, I really don't feel like we have to go to States because it will be a step of faith, really, kind of a trust God in everything. Because that's why my friend who made it to Canada was happy, because he was given $15,000 Canadian when they arrived. They got monthly payment for each child, like $600 each child until they're 18. It's like such a big amount of money. Just, come and we'll give you money. That's kind of our good stuff, right? But God told me, if you want to just enjoy these benefits, right, you can do it. You can go to Canada. But if you want to continue minister to me, come to States. I was like, okay. Because they came up with a government of States, they came up with a program called United for Ukraine. And what it does, there must be persons from states who made a certain amount of money last year, so they can prove they are capable to, provide needs of an individual, right? So family of 5, what I have will be like easy, $50,000 per 2 years. This is period of time, a period of a program, 2 years. So I thought, well, it's not going to be easy, but God had something different in mind, right? By that time, they didn't have any benefits included, no food stamps, no free insurance, and that was a step of faith. As soon as we decided to go that path, government of the United States of America decided to add these benefits. They said, okay, they're now ready, so we can add it now, okay? So that was a blessing too. We applied for sponsor, and there's some Facebook page who was looking for sponsor for Ukrainians, and they found one sponsor without housing, because we thought we're going to go to North Carolina. There were some people who were willing to give us a housing, and then they disappeared. We were looking for some other people who could host us. There was one lady, and she said, okay, and then she disappeared again too. It was like, what's going on here? And then one of my friends went to the church called Catch the Fire rally, and they were more than happy to give us housing for 2-3 months. So basically we lived there all this time. So we still didn't have money for tickets. So we were praying about it. While we were waiting for tickets, I decided to address some of my health issues, what I had in the past 4 years. So I decided to go to a city next to the town where we were in that time. But that city was known for having biggest fuel factory in Ukraine. It was providing needs for more than half of Ukraine. It was a really important place. But Russians ended up bombing that place 4 times. I don't know why they were doing it again and again, spending $6 million worth missiles. The place was destroyed after first attempt, basically. So I thought, well, really, maybe they're done by now, really? Kind of, really don't want to die, there, So we prayed, and we went there, me, my wife, little David, my wife's sister with her 2 children. They went with us to shop there because it's a city, bigger shopping malls, bigger stores. So after I was done with my medical, tests, we got her sister in the car, and as soon as we left city, a Russian rocket came to the same street where we were. And this time they hit the biggest shopping mall. Many people died. Few still missing, they were burned alive. Sometimes there's no ashes of a person, just you can tell what was. And my wife, she told me, actually, I forgot this, but she told me now, like, I was asking you to go to that shopping mall after we were done in medical clinic. But you said you're tired, let's go home. So it was God's hand who helped us to be, alive again. Listen, I was going back after that to the town, and after we got to the town, I went out from my car, and I was like, I could tell I was shaking because I just escaped the death. to be burned alive. And I said, God, you must have something for us to do because you just protect us. It's so good. So the thing was, in that medical center, they discovered I have a tumor in my rectum, and they were not sure is it cancerous or not. So they took a biopsy without even me knowing it. Okay. They would kind of assume I will stay in Ukraine and gonna address all these things, but I was shocked when he said it took biopsy, because I knew if you're gonna kind of take biopsy of a tumor stage 3 or 4, it will grow really. It can cause growing, right? So with me now, we go into states with that medicine. What you have here, kind of a insurance medicine. If you don't have insurance, it will be extremely expensive, right? I actually didn't realize how expensive it will be. So that was shock to me because I didn't know what to do. But I had to trust God again. I said, God, if you opened it, it's already opened this door. So there must be something for us. Such a blessing. And we really didn't know why we're going to North Carolina. So do we have time? Because there's so much stuff in this. Miracle after miracle after miracle. I'll tell you a few things, okay? There's no time on this display. I turn it off.
See if we can wrap it up in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, we can do it because this is such a testimony.
You guys okay with another 15 minutes? Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. So we end up packing our stuff on western part of Ukraine. I had to ship some of my paintings via post, and majority of them were unstretched, and I put them in tubes, right? It was quite big tubes, and as a matter of fact, last painting was done on a really thin canvas. I was able to roll it really tightly, so I put last painting in the last available space. There was not space. It was like everything is there and there's no space. It was like, wow. So we went on a custom and we came there quite late. I could see there was a line of 2 kilometers of a car. They were not moving. I thought, it's not going to work for us with 3 children on the back. We're packed there. I was squeezing them in the car because we had so much stuff. So we decided to really do something crazy. I thought if you kind of have an infant in a car, you can break some rules sometimes. I mean, not here, of course. So I went to the opposite traffic line, like facing the traffic. There was not cars. There was only one scared bus driver, So it was like really maybe 3 kilometers line. So they were not moving. I went inside of a custom court, and there was another line of cars, and they were not moving either. So we asked the lady in front of us, for how long you've been waiting here? She said 4 hours. And she said, in 20 minutes, they're going to have a shift. So it's another hour at least. I was like, no, we cannot afford it. And that time, baby David started to cry. I thought, oh, that's a perfect kind of a thing. She went outside. He was crying and said, go and ask who's in charge, give us give us green light. We're going to go there. So, and there I heard they were doing it, actually. That's why I asked her to do it. So we were given permission to go there, and they have like 15 minutes before their shift. So they were really quickly, stamping everything because they wanted to go home, right? So, and the guy came who was responsible for checking your luggage for, national inheritance, diamonds, gold, which we had so much in our luggage, of course. And as soon as he opened the trunk, he was shocked, like, so much stuff to check. Oh, he's like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And then he saw these tubes with the stuff, and he said, what's in it? I said, art, my art. He was like, no, art. Now it's like he has to call some expert. It will take forever. But I was doing my Silkers Act. I had some pictures with a stamp from Ministry of Culture. Like, look, I have all approval. It's okay. It was like, oh. He said, oh, all right, just disappeared. And we went through, not single piece of luggage were checked. As a matter of fact, anywhere it's like, not in Poland, not in States, They didn't check our luggage. They didn't check art. Because as soon as you open the art thing, it will be hard to put it back because how tightly it was rolled inside, right? So we made it here. Our last flight was late. We were praying again. And God caused a storm in Raleigh I believe because of our prayer, right? So our last flight got late, so we were able to catch it, right? Because we were late in Munich for 1 hour sitting in a plane, and then we had to do some paperwork, like stamping passports, giving a parole, all that stuff. So when we came here to North Carolina, to States, my friends started to knock here and there into hospitals, right? And they were successful in making an appointment in Duke Hospital, which basically the best facility for cancer treatment on whole coast. They end up having me as a charity case. Because listen, whatever they were charging there, it's really hard to understand why it has so many zeros in the end. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I asked one of the workers, like, I was about to take 3D MRI scan. And I said, how much is that thing really? And she said, I'm going to send you information to your chart. And I went there. It was like, before their discount, it's $220,000 for one scan only. I was like, what? I was so happy to have this, charity case. Because I think insurance would not cover that type of, expense. So I ended up going next day to do the scan, and the lady at the counter, she said, oh, I see there's some amount of money you have to pay before you do a scan. And I said, what is it? Well, after discount, it's $66,000. I was like, okay, would you like to pay it now? I said, no. Would you like to pay some? I said, I was kind of thinking, okay, $20? 30? Yeah. I said, I have a charity case. And she said, okay. It's easy. But listen, I could feel I'm having a hard time with my high blood pressure. And I thought, if I'm going to die because of a heart attack now, that would be really weird. Trying to heal cancer and now dying from a heart attack because of a bill. Because I was afraid they're going to send me the bill, So I went through 6 weeks of chemo and radio treatment. And the doctors told me, like, my body just getting good response. They're going to check and examine it in middle of November. Is tumor still there? So we believe in divine healing. So it will be gone. Because if it's not gone, they want to do a surgery, which is basically not just taking out the tumor, just cutting out all rectum, which really nobody needs, right? So, hallelujah. And the very last thing that I want to share, another provision thing from the Lord. My wife was praying about this trip, even in Ukraine, and God told her, there is a house for you where you will stay for free. Okay? All this time, like for a couple months, we were kind of waiting for the house, but it was not coming. And some people in the leadership of the church were quite nervous about us staying there longer than 2 months, and me going through this treatment, so I'm not able to work, kind of no income, and they got stuck with us, right? So I got a phone call from a lady. They saw our interview on TV. We were given a couple interviews. And she said, well, I saw your interview and I kind of like your art. I was searching, and can I help you with anything with art? I said, sure, you can buy me a canvas because I had so much paint. And she said, okay, let's meet at the art supply store. And she came, she handed me a $200 certificate, which was nice. And she said, listen, will you be interested in living in a house outside of town? Like, 30 minutes drive from here? I said, sure, why not? I like driving. And she said, there is a couple, and the owner of the house, he is quite ill, and they went to India. His wife is originally from India. And they're going for some treatment there, they went for some treatment here, and he has some, problem with the muscle of the head. But they were kind of open to give any people help with housing. But they had only two, how you call it, you have to be Christian and you have to be from Ukraine. And then you qualify to stay in the house. Okay, there are two things. We were perfectly matching that two, right? So we went there, checked the house. We liked the house without owners. They were still in India, right? And we were thinking about, giving us like 3 months. We said, listen, we need to put our children to a school, so please extend it. So they end up to giving us housing for 8 months, which will be like end of June. Beautiful, and with zero cost, no rent, zero utilities payment, because they have a well there, they have a solar panels, and everything quite provided already, right? Except natural gas, right? And also, they end up giving us their third car to drive. Oh my goodness. That was amazing. Listen, God did such a beautiful job with us there. So this is our testimony. Thank you.
Wow. When you're in an impossible situation, all things are possible with God, aren't they?
Absolutely. You just to be able to wait until
Yes.
His timing is right.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, we put a piece of art on the stage. You were going to tell us about this?
Yes, absolutely.
You can go ahead and do
This is the very last piece what I did in Ukraine before war started, actually a couple of weeks before started. And it was, I did it because I felt such a grief after knowing my first pastor, Pastor Gregory, died.
Yeah, Pastor Gregory passed away right before the war started. And his daughter Anya now and her husband pastor the church, and I just read a recent testimony from them. Kryvyi Rog has been spared a majority of the shelling so far. They have sirens and things, but not a lot of destruction. But they've become a place of refuge for so many people.
Yes.
And their church has provided food and shelter. And she said thousands of people are coming to Jesus right now.
Yes.
So it's just an amazing work of God that He is doing through Pastor Anya and that church.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So when I got that phone call, I was kind of, really, actually, I didn't expect to be so wounded with that news, right? So I thought I have to do something about it. And I started to paint. My concern was what I would project my grief to a painting, do such a dark thing or whatever. But God was up to something really different. When I was done, God told me what it is really. And I know it looks like a Minnesota in wintertime, right?
that's what I told him.
But I'm sorry, it's really not. Yeah, so God was telling me, so heaven is for real. Heaven is for real. So when your sun is going down, like your days are about to be over, right, on this planet, there will be angels of God who will take you and bring you to the presence of your Creator from this river of busy life on earth. And you'll be able to enter the joy of a master. So don't cry about him. Like he's in a better place. He did his walk. And now he's enjoying presence with his Creator. So that was a good thing, because later this painting was ministered to me after that rocket attack. I was like looking at that and saying, God, really, my days are not there yet. So thank you for saving me. Yeah. So basically what we have there, different kind of prints. They can be unframed, framed, and starts with $30. So that's going to support our family here.
So the art is back there, and you're able to buy any of it that you want after the service here? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you can, if you don't like it, you can buy it as a Christmas present. There are some people really who came to me and said, oh, we really don't want to buy anything, but here is $100 bill. I was like, oh, get something in return. No, you can sell it. Okay. Yeah.
So in addition to the opportunity to buy his art, we do want to receive an offering for Anatoli and his family. And I don't know if there's another track, if you'd like to sing during that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can I do it? Okay.
Do you have another?
Oh, can I play piano? I really enjoy this piano. Right? Can I?
Yeah.
This is really tricky. Actually, I didn't play it for long.
Do you have a microphone there? Do you need to sing too? You have a mic. Okay. So Joel, can you get him wired? And let's just pray and let's just trust the Lord to really bless his family in their new lives. And obviously you can tell by the testimony that they are here for a reason. And we want to see God unfold his purposes for their life and their ministry in the future. So Father, we just give to you as we give to Anatoli and to his family and to all that you've called them to in Jesus' name. Amen. If you're going to give on text or if you're going to give in the kiosk, do it to special.
Как и прежде твой, я слышу голос, и ты зовешь меня оставить позади. Суету и все тревоги дня, закрыть глаза и в твой покой войти. Двери закрою в тайную комнату, и в объятия твои упаду. Иисус, любимый мой, дороже золота для меня эти встречи с тобой. Больше познавать хочу тебя, творить твои дела, дела любви. Без тебя приходит суета, не отпускай меня, всегда во мне живи. Двери закрою в тайную комнату, и в объятия твои упаду. Иисус, любимый мой, дороже золота для меня эти встречи с тобой. Двери закрою, тайную комнату, и в объятия твои упаду, о мой Господь. Иисус, любимый мой, дороже золота для меня эти встречи с тобой. Встречи с тобой, Jesus, we love you, Jesus, I